So I'm running my app now on localhost. And you'll see, if you look in the API Explorer and drill down into the functions in the Conference API, that the setAnnouncement method is not here. That's because we didn't expose it as an endpoints function. Instead, we defined it as a servlet on purpose to keep it internal to the application. So the API's Explorer lets you explore endpoint functions, but it doesn't let you explore your servlets. Since we're going to put things into Memcache, I've deployed my app to AppSpot so I can use the Memcache viewer. First, I'll make sure I have some conferences that are nearly sold out. Okay, this one's pretty close to being sold out, only 3 seats left. This one's only got 1 seat left. Okay, so I've got a couple of conferences that only have a couple of seats left. To test the new setAnnouncement function, you can use the browser to go to the URL mapped to the servlet. However, you do have to be logged in as a developer on the application, or you'll get an error that you're not in the required role. And that's because we don't want just any old person coming along and setting the announcements by going to the URL in the browser. So to trigger the setAnnouncement function, we go to the URL that we mapped it to in the servlet, in this case, which is cron/set_announcement. So when I go to the URL, crons_/setAnnouncement, nothing seems to happen. But actually that's expected. Remember that the servlet doesn't set a response, so nothing happens in the page. And if you got to the place where it asks you to log in, and you go ahead and log in, you're going to remain on the login page, even when the URL executes. However, we can use the Memcache viewer to check that the announcement got set. So here in the Memcache viewer, we do see that we have 1 item. We can use the content lookup section to look to see if it is our announcement. The key we used was recent announcements. It's a Java string. So let's display it and see if we have an announcement. And yes, we do. So the announcement about the conferences that are nearly sold out has been created and saved in Memcache. So now we can save values in Memcache, and we can use the Memcache viewer to get those values back. We're going to want to show this announcement to other people, not to the developers of the application. Let's go ahead and create an endpoint function to get the announcement out of Memcache so we can show it to other people. So one other thing I want to mention is that in the constants class, constants.java, we define the key for the announcements. And this is where we get the recent announcements key from. So in the Conference API class, you can define the getAnnouncement function. This is going to be an endpoints function. So this is a fairly simple function. Basically gets the Memcache service and then calls the get method on the Memcache service, passing in the announcement key. We check if the value is null. So long as it's not null, we create a new announcement object and we set the message property to the announcement that we got out of Memcache. And again, we have to return an announcement rather than just a string because this is an endpoints function and endpoint functions can't return just strings.